Before we get to our more about less segment, Vanessa, we were talking off mic here about awkwardness. And you talk about being a recovering awkward person.
Yes. So awkwardness, I think it dresses up as different things. So I think some people, they feel awkward and they shut down. They inhibit, they go quiet, they go into their introvertedness, they try to hide. Other people, their awkwardness dresses up as being big, over the top, dramatic, interrupters, show-offers. And so I think that awkwardness is this very unique trait because it shows up differently in different people, but you don't always know that you're seeing it. Right? Like you might meet someone and be like, God, they're a show-off. Well, that's just because they're scared. Like I think awkwardness comes because for me at least, I am awkward because I'm scared of being judged. I'm scared you're not going to like me. And I'm scared I'm unworthy that I should be with you, that I'm not worthy of your time or your conversation. But you wouldn't know that because it dresses up as me shutting down, me closing in, me being scared, me being quiet. And so I think that awkwardness is this thing that if we can talk about it, we can see how it's dressing up for people and get to the real heart of what people are afraid of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're afraid not of the awkwardness itself, but of the way that people perceive you. Now, Ryan, we were downstairs in the bathroom. You were saying something that I found really fascinating.
Yeah, I don't care what people think about me. Like, as long as they're interpreting me correctly, that's what matters. So, it's like if we were talking and you're like, oh man, that Ryan Nicodemus guy, he really, you tweet something about how I hate puppies or something. And I would be like, what did I do? Like, that's my pet peeve of like, wait, what did I do to make you think? Like, you're interpreting me wrong. But if you went and tweeted like, oh, that Ryan Nicodemus, he's a minimalist and, he's stupid. I would be like, yeah, I'm pretty stupid and I'm a minimalist. Like I don't care what people think, but I do care about how they interpret me. And it's interesting because like this little conversation is so valuable for so many people, especially for me, because like with certain people, they will come across as defensive or irritated or having the resting bothered face.
Yeah.
And instead of me reacting to what I think their cues mean, I tell myself like, oh, they don't know how to handle the situation right now. They're nervous.
They're awkward.
Yeah. And it helps me so much to de-escalate things.
Yeah. I also think it's important. It's beautiful what you said that your fear comes from, oh, they're not going to understand who I truly am. This is really hard for the opposite. So I think I have the opposite as you, which is I have horrible imposter syndrome. So I think I truly am unworthy. So for me, it's not that I want people to see that I'm truly unworthy. I'm trying to convince them that I am worthy, even though I sometimes feel very unworthy. So there's, I think, different ways that it can play out. If you have someone who has really low self-esteem or social anxiety or imposter syndrome, for them, they are fighting you seeing who they worry they truly are. Like I am fighting with myself constantly that I'm not an imposter, that I want to prove my worth. And I don't want you to see that.
Yes.
I don't want you to see that I'm fighting that all the time.
Oh, Vanessa, but you are, I don't think you're an imposter. Like expound on that a little bit, I guess. Like where do you think people are, what do you think people think about where you are versus like where you feel like you are?
I think that the hardest part for me is I write about confidence and charisma. And we talked about this very briefly earlier. I wrote a book called Captivate. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote that book. I mean, I love that book. It's a great book. But when you talk about being captivating, you have to be captivating all the time. Right? And so like...
But you don't. This is you saying...
I feel I do.
This is the prison that you've placed yourself in. Now, Ryan and I, ironically, we do certain things that people don't perceive as minimalist, right? Because we own more than 15 items, or oh my God, you wear
16.
And you don't,
oh my God, you wear underwear, you drive a car.
And do you have shame? I'm just curious. Do you have shame around that at all?
No, no. I used to have the imposter syndrome,
right?
And maybe that is kind of maybe linked with shame a little bit. But anyway, keep going, Josh.
We had a porn star on the podcast. Her name's Lisa Ann.
Where are we going with this? How are we going to...
Anyway,
I'm worried about how we're going to tie this
this is a plug for our OnlyFans account.
Ryan asked her a brief question. In fact, we're going to bring her back on the podcast to do a whole episode about shame. He asked, "Do you ever deal with shame? Being in the industry that you're in?" And she goes, "I find that quite often people try to hand me their shame. The way that they think I should feel ashamed for what I'm doing, right? And I find that now with minimalism, I often get other people handing me their shame, right? Now, it could be a shame about my situation, their judgment on me. Of course, judgment is just a mirror of the insecurities of the judge.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're handing me their personal shame, like, oh, I feel ashamed and I can't embrace simplifying my life because of the way other people are going to think about me. I think there's this other path, though. And we were talking about this downstairs off mic. I know that I'm awkward. And that knowing that I'm awkward. So what is the truth behind this?
Yeah.
Yes, I don't want to come off as awkward, maybe, but I am awkward. So what am I saying? I don't want to come off as me. I want to be disingenuous. As an Enneagram 3, that's easy for me to put that mask on and say, okay, I'll put on a mask so I'm not awkward. Be cool. But what about be myself? What is actually cooler than that?
Being awkward.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so when you said that to me earlier, it like took my breath away, right? Because like I spend my life trying to fight awkwardness. And so for you to say, oh, I am awkward, so it's okay if I am, was like, because I think that is extremely authentic. And so I think when we talk about, I was almost worried to put out cues because I was sharing with the world the operating system I need to use to socially survive. And I was really scared about that because I basically am admitting I don't know how people work. I get really anxious around them. I have to memorize conversation starters and cues to be able to interact. And I was so scared about that when I first put it out there. But it's true.
Yeah.
Like when I'm interacting, I have to think, okay, now do a head tilt. Now make eye contact. Now use a gesture. Like that does not come naturally to me. I have to think about it that way because I really want to connect with people. And so to connect, I have to have the right cues to do it.
Did you enjoy this standalone Patreon highlight? If so, you can listen to full episodes of the Minimalist Private Podcast, available exclusively on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/theminimalists or click the link in the description. Your support keeps our podcast and YouTube channel 100% advertisement free.